Disclaimer, Divorce in the Black and our coverage of it touch on aspects of domestic violence. While our opinions are our own and we try to keep our podcast light, we are not making fun of domestic violence or those who are victims of it.
If you suspect someone you know is being abused or you yourself are being abused, please seek help. The National Domestic Violence Hotline is 800-799-7233. You can also text the word BEGIN, BEGIN, to 88788. There are resources to help you. Please know that you are not alone. Testing. This is Liz Ramirez coming to you from across the airwaves, the socials, the interwebs, or wherever it is you get your podcasts. Now airing The Critics and the Crowd, the only podcast you'll ever need as we stride boldly into the future. Why are you making me read this, Steele?
Don't break character. And I'm Steele Philippek, the lesser half of this pod production powerhouse. As always, Ms. Ramirez and I are here to cover all the content that divides audiences and professional tastes. And boy howdy, we're in for it today. That's because we're covering our first Tyler Perry film. But certainly not our last. If there was a Mount Rushmore of Critics in the Crowd creators, Mr. Perry's face would be in place of George Washington.
Tyler Perry is a rags to riches success story, though that undersells his popularity and the controversy that follows him. A writer, director, actor, producer, production house leader, CEO, media guru, media maven, and all-around narrative supernova, it's hard to overstate his effect on the current pop culture landscape, for good and bad. So, Steele, please explain to me why are we going to court this man's super fans and super haters, both of which will probably be screaming for our blood by the end of this episode?
I made a mistake. I saw the divide on Rotten Tomatoes and went, ooh, I think this would be perfect. Only after we committed to watching, researching, and recording did I realize that I had landed into Tyler Perry land. I was hoping that if we were going to dance with Mr. Perry, it would be through the form of Medea, his atom bomb in the cultural zeitgeist. I was hoodwinked, I was bamboozled, I was razzmatazed.
You were lazy.
Yeah, I was lazy.
The stats.
Amazon Prime Video released Divorce in the Black in July 2024 to the dismay of critics and the delight of audiences. Professionals savaged the film upon its release, but there was obviously some of Tyler Perry's magic in the film as it registered 498 million viewing minutes in its opening weekend. It's hard to tell just how many eyeballs to which that translates, as you could have a family of 10 watching in the same room or 10 individuals turning it off after a half hour. But Amazon claims that the film was, at the time of release, the film with the best initiation in its catalog. That is, more people signed up for Amazon Prime because of Divorce in the Black than any other movie that Amazon has produced. That's saying something. A synopsis from Rotten Tomatoes.
Ava's husband, Dallas, leaves her heartbroken as he deserts their marriage. Dallas's malicious actions unravel as Ava gets a chance to find true love with her destined soulmate.
The film stars Megan Good, Corey Hardrict, Joseph Lee Anderson, Taylor Polidor, Richard Lawson, and Debbie Morgan. You may know Ms. Good from Eve's Bayou,
A personal favorite of mine.
Cousin Skeeter on Nickelodeon, Roll Bounce, future Critics in the Crowd entry Stomp the Yard, Shazam, Fury of the Gods, and numerous other productions, most recently as part of the main cast of the television show Harlem.
Hardrict is a veteran character actor who has appeared in dozens of television shows and films in smaller parts, but is most notable as a part of the main cast of The Oath, All-American Homecoming. Polidor also was a major actor in All-American Homecoming, along with Black Lightning, Snowfall, Beauty and Black, and as a voice actor in Curious George and It's Pony. Viewers will recognize Anderson as Rocky Johnson, the father of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson on the series Young Rock. Lawson and Morgan, meanwhile, are legendary actors, with Lawson's range having him in everything from V to MacGyver and Grey's Anatomy, and Morgan as Dr. Angela Hubbard for over 30 seasons of All My Children, among much else.
Let's be real, though. The real force behind this film is director and writer Tyler Perry. Perry started his career on the stage, self-financing I Know I've Been Changed as a 22-year-old with his life savings of $12,000. It was a financial flop, but Perry refused to give up, and over the course of 6 years produced more and more content on what is now called the Urban Theater Circuit, a collection of community and community theater adjacent stages in the South that appealed to mostly Black and religious audiences, a background with which Perry shares.
In 2005, Tyler Perry was making tens of millions of dollars and getting his work in front of over 35,000 people a week, according to Forbes, but he wanted more. Adapting his play, Diary of a Mad Black Woman, for film, Tyler unleashed the pop culture icon Medea on the world. Perry has gone on to make 15 total films of that character, as well as plays, audio pieces, and much else. The media empire Medea launched has made Tyler Perry a billionaire and allowed him to create his own studio space in Atlanta, Tyler Perry Studios, on 330 acres of land that allows the production of numerous concurrent features and television series.
For all his success, Tyler Perry remains a polarizing figure. Perry's faith-based content is not to everybody's tastes, and his reliance on slapstick, drag, and other broadly humorous content has led some to label his work lowbrow. He's also remarkably sensitive to criticism despite his success, which has led to public feuds with Spike Lee, Aaron McGruder, Monique, and numerous others. Much of this is based in accusations of inter-black racism on both sides, though I don't think either Steele or I have much place to comment on the validity of this. If you're interested, please Google it, and you'll find all the opinions you can stand.
You will not be able to escape it.
I have to add this. I only know Tyler Perry from Medea. That was my introduction to him.
And you love Diaries of a Mad Black Woman, right?
Yeah, I love Diary of a Mad Black. It was my first Tyler Perry film. It's my favorite of his to this day. I assumed at this point, I kind of just knew Tyler Perry as a major player in black media and film, and I just assumed everyone loved him. So I really didn't know any about any drama until I'm reading the script and I'm like, what? Really?
I have immense personal respect for Tyler Perry as a creator. He is the quintessential figure of believing in yourself, pulling yourself up by your bootstraps, and never giving in. He's been criticized for how he's handled film shoots, how he deems himself the sole creative visionary of his projects, about the speed with which he works, more on that in a little bit. And he's also been the launch pad for many, many non-white cast and crew who would otherwise have been shut out of the Hollywood system, which, for all of its advances and lip service, is still a remarkably white bread industry, particularly behind the camera. It's hard for me to talk about this in an appropriate way, but the biggest part of the criticism that Perry receives is that it's based in stereotypes and melodrama, using stock characters and stock narratives that he claims reflect his upbringing and those who he knows, and based on his legions of fans. It's hard to argue that point. Perry obviously understands what his audiences want, and as a fellow creator, I understand how it can be hard to try something new. Why rock the boat when you're making literally hundreds of millions of dollars a year in revenue for your company? Why not give audiences what they want? Why fix what's not broken? No, seriously, Liz, why?
Yeah,
Perfectly said. This gets into the realm of subversion of expectations. Particularly in theater, there is this idea that you should subvert the audience's expectation and surprise them or give them something that they don't know that they want. You'll hear creators like Rian Johnson say this for film as well. That's kind of one of the reasons he went into The Last Jedi, which he directed and I believe co-wrote for that. He wanted to not do what had come before. And I do get that. Sometimes you do need to give a curveball to an audience, try to broaden their horizon, give them something they haven't seen before or are not expecting. I do like Johnson's work, and I do understand that. At the same time, I feel like if you go to a restaurant and you order a burger and the waiter comes out and gives you a salad and goes, surprise, you wouldn't go back to that restaurant. There is a push and a pull to giving audiences what they want and also trying something new. Even Spike Lee, who has gone with full horns at Tyler Perry, admitted that creatives should be free to make what they want, that they have creative vision. He pulls no punches in his opinions, and he shares those about Perry. So it's not like there is one right answer here. Just putting that out there before we get into this.
Initial thoughts. Steele, you insisted that we watch this film for our podcast. I have one word for you. This is a common word for me, I think. Why?
Yeah, that's actually a letter, Liz, and sometimes a vowel even. Our minimum cutoff for works that we cover on C&C is 25%, but I'm always much more interested in those films that have a huge difference. No knock against Twilight, but when Venom and Shaft and other films have a minimum of 50 points splitting critics and crowd, I always get super eager. In my mind, these are the big fish, the really polarizing films that made me want to do this podcast with you, Liz. With Divorce in the Black, we're going even further. Not only is this the biggest divide we've faced yet, it's also our first offer in that literally 0 registered critics on Rotten Tomatoes had a positive review of this film. That's even fewer than Prom Night, which, well, you should listen to our episode on that to hear our many, many opinions on that cinematic masterpiece. We'll be doing more of these in the future, but when I saw how divided people were on this film, I felt I had to cover it, particularly as I'm not a Tyler Perry lover or hater. By that, I mean I've never seen anything written or directed by Tyler Perry all the way through, which included Divorce in the Black. I've seen snippets of Medea, and while I haven't loved that content, it's just that, snippets, so I can't or won't make any judgments here. As I said, I have an enormous amount of respect for him personally and loved Precious, a very beautiful and haunting film which Perry produced, but I otherwise came into this film almost blind. It's almost impossible to not know who Perry is, though, and even a little bit of digging unearths some of the controversy surrounding him, his work, and particularly Medea. He's almost a patron saint of this podcast in that more than a dozen of his works qualify for it. That says two things. One, Perry does not speak for everybody, and two, his work obviously speaks to a lot of people. I'm going to try to limit my commentary about this film based on its craftsmanship rather than the aura that surrounds it. What about you, Liz?
I had no previous thoughts about this film. I had never heard of it, honestly, and could have gone my whole life without watching it. But here we are. When you texted me that we had to move this up on the lineup of films we watched, I won't lie, I was nervous. Little did I know what I was getting myself into. I thought the title was very interesting. I suppose, after looking it up, I supposed it was a play on words of the phrase. I had to look up what the phrase even meant. I didn't know what it meant to be in the black. I could semi-gather from context clues. For anyone confused, in the black, I looked it up. It says, is a financial term used to show a company is financially solvent or unburdened by debts. Okay, I get it. The film was a bumpy ride, but sit back, relax, and let us take you through all 2 hours and 2 minutes of this film. Are you ready to steal?
It certainly felt like it was longer than that.
Right? Well, halfway through, I was like, no, really? Halfway?
We're jumping the gun. We open on a funeral. Ava has returned to her hometown with her husband Dallas Bertrand to lay Dallas's oldest brother to rest. What should be a eulogy given by Clarence, the town preacher, and Ava's father, is actually a screed against the deceased, exhorting the congregation not to follow in his footsteps. Poor taste if you ask Linda Bertrand, the mother of Dallas and the dead man.
She gets into a heated argument in which she tears off her clothes. No, the other button. Anyway, Linda throws her clothes at Clarence, saying that she won't have his words, his charity, his pity, or his dignity. Dallas's no good, very bad brothers literally remove the dead man from the casket to lay him to rest back on the family homestead. Ava stays behind to try to talk some sense into Clarence. He's always talking about the sanctity of marriage and the foundation of family. Well, yeah, sure, for the less criminally inclined. Even Ava's friend Rona and her husband Jim are unsure of what Ava should do in this situation. Stand by her man or stand up to him.
So fans are mixed on this opening. Some people feel that it's the best part of the film and that it's all downhill from here, while others say that this is the low point and needs to be slogged through because it's so unrealistic. My reaction, my eyebrows rose and my jaw dropped. I'm not going to say I liked it, but hey, it starts with a bang. And yes, I have actually experienced something like this or similar to this. So yeah, rare in a house of God, but there are still hillbillies in heaven, and they have ways of doing things.
We are thrown for a freaking loop here, okay? I have never started a movie with my jaw hanging so low. I had no idea where we were coming from or where we would go, but you best believe I was sat. Disgracing a man on his deathbed, I mean, I don't know if it's deserved or not. At this point, I don't know if it's deserved or not, but it does not seem like the right place or time. I guess the brothers are really just that bad. I was guessing that their mother would make them take the body, but when she really did it, if I had water, I would spit. Okay, I was speechless at this point in the film. I had so many mixed feelings. I didn't know if I wanted to call it quits or bust out some popcorn, but I kept on. Popcornless. I do regret that part. I will say 10 out of 10 for me for the wildest openings to a film ever. This is a direct quote from my notes right here. Ready? Tyler, what the F?
Linda, you should know that Clarence isn't going to make your son come out smelling like roses. Clarence, you don't have to give the eulogy for a man whose family will assuredly try to murder you if you badmouth them. Spoiler alert, but not really, because this film telegraphs its punches like it's Western Union. Do you get that joke, Liz?
Do I look like I get that joke? Thank you.
I think Perry is setting up Ava as the loving, devoted wife here who wants to abide by her parents' advice and God's law, but is torn because of who her husband has turned out to be. Personally, it makes me really dislike her character, but I understand Perry's inclination. Ava is supposed to be the kind of wife that makes unmarried men think, man, I wish I had a chance with a woman like that. I'd put a ring on it. And also the kind of wife who women can commiserate with, either because they're in that position or because they know someone who is in it.
You hit the nail right on the head with this. I think if the story is doing what I hope it set out to do by creating a visual warning for others, especially those in the Black community, some stats for you. According to the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence, 45.1% of Black women and 40.1% of Black men have experienced intimate partner violence, physical violence, intimate partner sexual violence, and or intimate partner stalking in their lifetimes. Domestic violence impacts Black women and men at higher rates than any other community. So I think it's imperative we note that regardless of the movie's quality, its message is very important. And so I think creating these simple images in its way, it's the hard part for me, is because it's like you kind of want to show people, but at a point you're spoon feeding them. And that's where the problem is with this movie, is that it's important subject matter. It's just not done well.
I think you kind of nailed it right there. It's doing the right things. This is how you open a film. You want to give your audience, tells the audience what this movie is about.
Right.
And in terms of tone, in terms of dialogue, in terms of action, in terms of story and theme, that's what you're supposed to do. I don't think that the craftsmanship elevates the material. It's hard, particularly when dealing with iffy subject matter. The most recent incarnation of The Invisible Man also deals with domestic violence. And it's not a great film, but I do like how it deals with the themes there, where literally this woman's ex-husband is invisible and is stalking her and is making her life crazy and making her second-guess herself and gaslit and all of these things that come along with domestic violence. And you get some of that here, but it never escalates. It never quite pushes to that next level. It's all about watching it. And
yeah,
I don't think that Perry was trying to do that as in popcorn flick, but it doesn't take the next step.
Yeah. Ava, all awash in the maelstrom of familial obligations, returns to the Bertrands' land to pick up Dallas. They've got to get back to Atlanta to beat the traffic. Good luck. But Dallas refuses. According to his inebriated ramblings, Ava is always trying to change him and make him turn away from his family. Which, sure, she wants him to stop drinking and get a 401k and stop instigating fights with randos at roadhouses. Not unreasonable requests.
Not according to Linda Bertrand. She finds Ava asleep in her car the following morning, with Dallas having skedaddled. The matriarch of the family Bertrand tells Ava to get the hell off of her property. And I thought the mothers-in-law of Rodney Dangerfield jokes were bad. Worse still, Ava finally finds Dallas and his brothers getting drunker than a New York Knicks fan in May at a nearby bar. Shut out by the brothers Bertrand, Ava stumbles outside where she meets Benji, an old semi-fling from back in her wild teenage years. Ava has settled now that she's got some eye candy to get her blood sugar up, but not the Bertrands. They try to pick a fight with Benji, egging Dallas on. It takes the bartender to send them scurrying off into the night with some shotgun blasts into the air. Here we get the beginning of two running themes of this film, people showing up with the sole intent of threatening violence, and Ava giving Dallas, his brothers, and his mother way too much slack. This is the character's flaw, that she's a bit of a pushover, but it makes her come across as incredibly weak and, that most frustrating of words, unagented. I understand that this is an unfortunate dynamic in domestic violence, but it can be dramatic poison because everything just happens to her and
Right.
we don't get to see her growth. We really don't get to see her make almost any choices in this film until the very end.
Yeah, here's my thing. The film doesn't have to be bad. In fact, it can be masterful if he wanted it to be. It makes me kind of angry because it feels like it was made for YouTube Shorts. You know, people watch movies. I sometimes watch a movie, but not the whole movie, just like clips of it. Anyway, or it's like those fake deep scenario videos. I won't name names, but there are channels on YouTube that create content that intentionally has a quote unquote deep message that engages people to click, watch, and comment. I'm not saying that this isn't a deep message, but I feel like it was treated
Very superficially.
I think a story like this is so important. I don't want it to be used for click rage bait content.
I don't think that Perry was going quite for that, but I do think you're right. I wanted more from
It's lacking a gravitas.
Yeah, we do get a little bit with Dallas in a second when he confesses his history, but we don't get that with any of the other brothers. We don't get that with the mother. We don't get that with almost any character here. I think that the acting in here actually is really good. They're doing a lot to try and bring out these characters who can come across really flat. Dallas and Ava are pretty two-dimensional, and that means if they're the leads, almost everybody else is going to be less than that.
Absolutely.
So it just doesn't take the next step.
That night, a surprisingly honest and contrite Dallas admits his flaws and foibles to Ava. It's not his fault. His mother is a menace.
Well, yeah, no duh.
No, seriously. She made Dallas kill his father because the man was beating up on his mother.
Whoa.
Oh, this film is just getting started. Literally, we have over 90 minutes left.
The next day, Rona and Ava carpool together, and what better way to spend time in the Atlanta gridlock than gossiping about their partners? Rona and the audience keep asking why Ava's staying with Dallas, because Ava is a good Christian woman. She's going to fight for her man, by Christ, no, literally. Also, Dallas has had a hard life. Patricide. Look it up, Liz. That doesn't excuse Dallas's actions that evening when he angrily leaves Ava at home for taking too long, only to show up drunk at a couple's date with Rona and Jim. When Ava finally arrives, Dallas explodes and tells her that they're through. A divorce is incoming.
I know what patricide is. If not by not knowing already, just by context clues. I did look it up last night.
This is finally the point at which the film escalates, but Ava doesn't even get to do it. It's up to Dallas. This is also why so much of the rest of the film falls flat for me. Ava didn't instigate this. Had she, we might get some ruminations on the nature of toxic relationships and who is at fault, if anybody. Did she bring this upon herself? Did she not bring this upon herself? What happens when you get out of a toxic relationship? Why do people stay in toxic relationships? Because of these things that when you make a choice, things can radically escalate and go out of control. Instead, we just get kind of torture porn.
I see where you're coming from, but I also see that the film wanted to make it clear-cut good and evil. I'm not saying that that's a right choice. I'm not saying it's a wrong choice. You know, it's a thing. But I think it pulls the film down because of its simplicity. I think we are allowed to have people be humans and make choices. And, you know, I mean, that's literally what you're saying. But I'm kind of defending the film in a way, you know.
Well, I think the film was trying. At other points, we're going to see Clarence, we're going to see Ava's father. He's a man of faith, and he's going to get her guns and security and go confront her husband at a certain point. I would have liked a little more of that internal struggle. I am both a pastor of a church of Christ and I'm a father. And I am in this position where I need to choose both. And they kind of get that with Ava, but not really because she doesn't make choices. And it's hard because in a real life situation, many people feel rightly or wrongly that they cannot make a choice, that they're put in an impossible situation. But this is drama, and drama has to escalate. And it's a very fine line to walk because if it's too unlike reality, then people turn it off. But if it's too like reality, then it doesn't become real drama, real art.
I wanted to point out an example here of the script.
Where it could have improved upon itself.
Yeah, where it could have. Yeah, I don't want to be like super rude. The way her friend says, "I'm a straight shooter," you know that. People don't talk like that.
It's very on the nose.
Yeah. They're spoon feeding the audience. And I feel like writers in this film, the writer is not giving enough credit to their audience. I think we can gather lots of things by just an actor's glance. You know, the exposition here is killer.
Your lyrics lack subtlety. You can't just have your characters announce how they feel. That makes me feel angry.
There's a lot of people just saying how they're feeling rather than acting it out or giving it. But actually, I'm going to say, speaking of acting, I think the acting in this, as I've said, is really good.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
I think every single actor is doing as well as they can. Megan Good is great at getting a lot of mileage with some fairly standard dialogue. Hardwick showed his range with his confessional scene, but I want to give a shout out to Shannon Wallace as Jim, Rona's husband. He has to play against the intensity of Hardwick's Dallas in this scene, and he does so in a way that makes him seem not like a coward. The physical acting he does says it all. He hates Dallas. This isn't the first time Dallas has made a scene. His wife is going to be furious with him if he doesn't do something, but if he does do something, he'll wind up arrested in the hospital or one, then the other. I have been Jim before. I was in a situation. I'm going to change these names. Let's call my ex-girlfriend Emily. Let's call her friend Emma and her boyfriend Nick. Me, Emily, Emma, and Nick were all on a double date. Nick brought liquor into the restaurant and was pouring himself stuff. And the waiter caught him, and they got into a confrontation. And Emma was furious and trying to back him down. And Emily looked at me like I should go and do something. And I knew that if I get up and I separate them, first of all, maybe I solve it, maybe I don't. Secondly, I know if I handle it in the wrong way, Emily's still going to not be happy with me in that moment. So what can I really do? And eventually the cops were called. It was a nightmare. So Shannon Wallace is acting in here when he's cringing and trying to say stuff, but not really. I loved it. I thought it was great.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, gosh, I don't know. I feel like it depends on the relationship you have with somebody, because I feel like at a point it's like not your responsibility if someone's acting out like that, and it can get violent. I don't know.
It's hard.
How do you pick?
So I spent some time in London working for the BBC, and we were given a crash course, the Americans who came over, by the cops there about the difference in law enforcement and how it's handled over there. They said, if you see an altercation, don't get involved. Even if you think you know what you know, you might not know. He told a case about how there was was an altercation between a man and a woman, and it was domestic violence, and a passerby, tried to split it up, and the woman pulled out a knife and stabbed the guy because she felt like she needed to show her husband that she was the good, supportive wife. And that's not to say that one should be silent about domestic violence, but it shows the complexity of this kind of relationship.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this film does not.
I wrote this in my notes. I wrote, this is such a movie. The lighting on the truck. I can't. I feel like certain kinds of films have an almost, the only way I can explain it is like a soap opera-y quality to the picture, where the facade of real life is gone and you can just tell they're on a soundstage or that they're being lit by a key light.
This is a major knock against films like Hook, which are like, that's a set. Like, you don't feel like it's actually there. A big part of it is the lighting. I'm not going to say that the lighting in this film is terrible. We'll get into this later. Some people have criticized it. They say it's like it's shot in the desert at noon. But Tyler Perry moves with alacrity. And because of that, that means that you need to have a lot of light because you want to capture something. You don't want necessarily something to be lost. Okay, we need to do another take because we missed something. And that's kind of why it feels like that soap opera-y thing.
Yeah. Since we're talking about the confessional, she also talks about, I think this is the part in the truck, where she's telling him the story of the prom night, and then she says that he wiped oil on her dress and that he was so mean. And that was supposed to be like her sweet and endearing story about her husband. What?
Once again, I think that is actually true to life to many essences of domestic violence, where one construes an action as sweet when other people are like, oh no, sir. Oh no, ma'am. That was awful.
Yeah.
And it's only when you're out of that situation where you're like, oh, that was bad.
You're right.
Once again, I don't think that the film allows for that moment to really happen.
That's what it is. That's what it is. Now, I'm understanding it now. I want to quickly share some of my direct quotes that I pulled from my notes while watching this film to you, Steele. This is mostly just for you. It says this. Steele, can I please stop watching this movie? What the am I watching? Is this some sort of enough plot where she leaves his ass and kills him? Because what the hell is going on?
Very prescient.
Yeah. Let's move on now. That's just some fun things. I wanted to share that with you.
In yet another driving montage, it is Atlanta after all. Rona takes Ava home after the restaurant confrontation with Dallas. By way of comfort, she literally gives a list of every horrible thing that Dallas has ever done to Ava in their marriage. Her anal retentiveness is not initially rewarded, as Ava doesn't want to read it, but the CVS receipt length size of it has her beginning to realize what she needs to escape. Under cover of night, Ava drives to her parents' home.
Ava expects an explosion the next morning when she tells her father and mother that Dallas has initiated a divorce. But her parents aren't dummies. Dallas is an alcoholic dirtbag with few upsides, a monstrous family, short temper, and few prospects. Why did Ava marry him to begin with? Let's skip past that. For now, Ava has a place in her childhood home for as long as she'd like.
A hate list is actually a great way to cope with the end of a toxic relationship. I had a very, very toxic relationship that ended poorly, and my therapist recommended writing down a list of every terrible thing that my ex did to me. I did, and every time I felt self-pity or felt like calling her, I'd take the list out of my wallet and go, oh yeah, I'm better off. Once again, this film is actually positing some good things.
Yeah.
It's just handling it poorly.
I think hate list is a great idea for many things in life, not even just relationships. Things that don't serve you, that are difficult to deal with, and when you separate yourself from it, realizing, looking back, I might use that actually.
It's a great mechanism. There are also things called mechanics. These are mental exercises or physical exercises that one can go through to try and calm oneself down. As an aside to people, I have dealt with mental instability for a good part of my adult life, and I have developed mechanisms by which, with therapy, that help me be able to calm down. I do wish we got more about Dallas and why Ava loves him. He seems like such a trash human being. Yes, due to his mother's influence, but she's supposed to be smart, capable, beautiful, talented, yada, yada, yada. Why wind up with the dregs of humanity?
You know, I really wanted him to not be so cookie-cutter evil.
Yeah.
The reason people fall for people like that is that they aren't all bad and there are good times. We only see those good times in the form of montages here, but it doesn't feel like enough. I really just think he's like a crap human, bad. And I don't see what Ava's seeing. And I think it's important for us to see what Ava sees, to feel her contradictions, to be right with her.
Or someone is replicating the cycle of their childhood. They are marrying their mother. They are marrying their father. And it's the only way that they know love. But we see Ava here. She has a loving family. She is pulled between her faith and what she feels like she might need to or need not to do. I wish we could have gotten more of that from her. Everybody else is doing the work for her, and she is just kind of a pawn in this.
Wait, so are you saying like you wish the family situation was different?
Well,
or no?
If her father acted like Dallas, I would understand why she would seek out Dallas, because that's the kind of love that she knows. Many people who go through toxic and violent relationships, that's the cycle.
That's true.
Or what they have is broken love at home, and they go for the first person that shows them quote unquote real love. And then that person winds up being a controlling abuser who then manipulates that person into not leaving them because they've never experienced real love. They've never experienced real family. And so that person sticks around forever until they're put in a body bag, until they finally are able to break free and realize that, no, I've still not yet found myself, still not yet found my person.
But sometimes it's not like that either. Sometimes people are like, you came from a good family and everything's what's going on.
Yes, and once again, we could also see that from this film, but it's not doing
Just
enough.
Not handled.
Yeah. It could be that Dallas is an expert manipulator. I don't think so. He doesn't seem like an expert
manipulator.
manipulator.
He just like really just like shuts her down awful the whole time.
It could be that he's suffering from mental instability due to his alcoholism. That also works, but we never saw him without it. We never experienced it without him. The only things we hear and see of him, except for that one confessional scene, are awful things.
Yeah. I will bring it back to this, though. Again, I think it's important to show a strong representation of how women can overcome something like this. People in general, but we're dealing with a woman in this case. She has her friends, her family, and most importantly, the realization within herself. Towards the end, we're not there yet, but the realization within herself that she is more than what he has made of her is important. And just a general note about movies here, I believe they truly help people and those in need. It teaches us to be empathetic and allows us to look at our own lives and wonder what we can change or be or emulate.
Yes.
Like most mothers, but not mine, Jean, Ava's mom, is a snoop. Now that Ava is home, Jean goes fishing and finds Rona's list. Jean confronts Ava. How much of this is true? Ava tries to hem and haw, but her mother apologizes for not being there for her more. There's just one problem. If her husband, a pastor, finds out about all of this abuse, he'll murder Dallas. Nothing says hatred like Christian love,
Slowly, Ava pulls herself out of her depression. Things aren't exactly back to normal, but they're on the upswing. She even rekindles things with Benji when the carnival comes to town. They reminisce on times gone by and what could have been, and soon, Ava's in the mood, if you know what I mean. But no! Benji stops her. He needs her to completely recalibrate. He doesn't want to be a fling or vengeance against Dallas.
I didn't like the plot pushing another man onto her. It can be part of the narrative, but I feel like the self-fulfillment can come from other more important things. And I guess it does in the film. I just feel like he was added so the movie could have a sexy element. I suppose, yes, also he's another catalyst for Dallas's rage and eventual attack. But I was just like...
I get it. It's hard. This is trying to be quote-unquote aspirational. It's like, you can find real love out there. You can find this sexy guy. You don't have to stick with your abuser. You will find somebody. But you're right. It doesn't allow Ava agency. She doesn't yet have agency in this movie. We're almost halfway through, and she's not making any choices. Seeing Benji deny Ava is believable, the right thing to do, and infuriating. Ava finally makes a choice and is denied it. She can't even get her honey spread without being clam-jammed by her ex.
What a crazy sentence, Steele.
I do like the push and the pull with Clarence, who is to be both a man of God and a father. As I said, I just wish they explored it more. It's rather one-dimensional here.
Benji, his character is just like a little cringe where he's talking about whiskey and the Chris Stapleton song and their exposition in the car, the romantic car convo, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And then them staring at each other. Do you remember that scene where they're like in the truck and they're just staring at each other for like 30 seconds and it's silent? It feels more like a play, and I didn't like that. I was like, what's going on? But yeah, right?
Perry is
right
from the background of stage, and I'll also say that's why some of these choices are big and bombastic. Because in theater, you need those big bombastic choices because you're live, in the moment, in front of 400 people in a gigantic theater. And in film, and particularly now in film where so many people are watching it on their laptop, their phone, sometimes you do need those big bombastic moments. You don't have the small elements. It's tough. It is a tough line to toe.
Yeah. Things can't get better forever, right? Soon, Dallas confronts Ava at her job, egged on by his brothers who have convinced him that Ava has been stepping out on him with Benji for their entire marriage. He's hulking, he's threatening, he probably smells like the floor of a dive bar, and he demands that Ava show up at the meeting between their lawyers to sign the divorce papers. Rona wants Ava to take Dallas to the cleaners. What does this guy actually have worth stealing? His rusted truck that could be sold for scrap? Definitely not his liver. But Ava, ever the honor-bound woman, just wants to leave her marriage in the black. After a hasty signing, the divorce is finalized.
This marriage in the black line is an example of kereji. This is the cutting line in haiku and other forms of Japanese poetry that either ends a stanza with finality or halts a train of thought, giving the preceding and following phrase extra emphasis. This has been co-opted into screenwriting where a particular line gives a film or a scene a different meaning. A famous example of this is in The Silence of the Lambs. What does the phrase, "The Silence of the Lambs," mean? We learn when Hannibal Lecter asks Clarice Starling, oh, well, you know the film, right, Liz?
Yeah, I know. I know Silence of the... Come on now.
So, do you remember the line that I'm referring to?
So,
audience, quick pause. I'm going to show Liz the scene, and I'm going to show why it means what it means.
Okay.
What became of your lamb, Clarice?
I killed him.
You still wake up sometimes, don't you? You wake up in the dark and hear the screaming of the lambs.
Yes.
And you think if you save poor Catherine, you could make them stop, don't you? You think if Catherine lives, you won't wake up in the dark ever again to that awful screaming of the lambs.
I don't know.
Thank you, Clarice.
So that's an example of kereji, where you begin to think, screaming of the lambs. Why is it called The Silence of the Lambs? Well, of course, it's because Clarice is trying to still the inner turmoil from her past, that she has to save these innocents. That's why she became an FBI agent. That's why she is so dedicated to rescuing the young woman that she's looking for, because she doesn't want her to become a victim of the serial killer, Buffalo Bill. Now compare and contrast that to Divorce in the Black. That being said, I do like the element here. It makes us think, what does divorce in the black means? Marriage in the black means coming out ahead with money. So now we as an audience are complicit. Well, what does divorce in the black mean?
Wow. Sorry, I'm still caught up. I haven't stopped thinking about it. I'm trying to wrap my little brain around it. I got a big brain. What am I saying? I got a really big head. I'll have to talk to you after. We'll talk after. Let's get back to the matters at hand. Okay, first of all, is there no security at this bank?
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
As soon as I'm like, there has to be at a bank security. First thing, crazed man coming in, grab him. And of course, it's Rona that has to stand up to him. I'm like, what about, what? So that was just another like crazy thing.
Once again, it's going to be a tired refrain, but people showing up to do violence, threaten violence, and then leave.
Yeah.
It's the same thing over and over again. We're examining the same aspect of domestic violence again and again.
Yeah. Tyler is really great at writing really, really men. I think of Charles in The Diary of a Mad Black Woman. That I thought was bad. Dallas is worse. 10 times worse, actually. Wow. And he has no money. Charles at least had money.
Yep.
Shoot.
Once again, I wish that Ava was pushing for a divorce or trying to figure out a way to cut Dallas out of the money or had some choice that affected the plot. Instead, she signs the papers and the movie continues to putter along without momentum.
I felt the same way, but I couldn't put my finger on it, and that's what it was. The movie was over for me at this point, but everything that happens after just felt like I was being further dragged along on this never-ending roller coaster. Also, the pink dress to meet the lawyers, I was like, I thought they were going to say something about it. I guess it's, to lead into the party, so she looks like really good. Also, like, I love looking really, or like I love the idea of...
Oh, you love looking good?
Well, yes. Who doesn't? No, I love the idea of going to a divorce and looking fantastic, so you could be like, you're losing all this. But I'm also like, hot, bright pink? Okay.
Rona does what any good friend would do. Throw a get under to get over party. I mean, a divorce party. Rona's pretty awesome, huh? Benji, however, is as confused as I and thinks this is a place to hook up. Ava does not dissuade him. No longer angry at Dallas and no longer conubily bonded. She and Benji boink like they were teenagers again.
This wouldn't be a melodrama if it ended there, though. As Ava gets ready for work the following morning, who should show up? But yeah, it's Dallas. Again. This movie has one note, and it hits it over and over again like a 2-year-old at a xylophone. He's willing to give Ava another chance. The scumbag claims that this is his house, and after finding Benji in bed, proceeds to get his ass handed to him. Ava drags Dallas away. She never misses arm day, people. And tells him never to come back.
Did you ever attend or have a get under to get over party, Liz?
No, never. And I will never. I don't really vibe with the concept. I feel at that point you have things you need to deal with within yourself first before you can possibly be ready to be with someone else. But I also think if someone wants to do that, more power to them and their sexual freedom.
I have been both the recipient of a get under to get over party and a host of a get under to get over party. I don't think it works all the time. In fact, as you say, it can be a little toxic if you don't know what you're doing. But I will say the one that I threw was handled in a very particular way in which it was clear that there would be no hooking up and that there would be no actual interplay. It was more about the flirtation and about the recipient who was coming out of a very bad breakup, and she felt that there would be no men interested in her. And so I recruited my hockey buddies, many of whom had a 6-pack, to come and kind of give her a little bit of a show, if you know what I mean. So
wait, that's kind of awesome. Oh, wait, I kind of like that. Build up her confidence.
yeah.
Good friend.
Yeah, and that's why it's also like you're not hooking up with her guys.
Right, like we're just here to be like, you're so beautiful and, worth it.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Halloween lacked agency, but this movie takes the cake for me. I really think you got it completely right saying that the film has one note and goes over and over it again. After a while, you're kind of like, okay.
Dallas shows up to stir up trouble.
Yeah, exactly. I expected nothing less. This film just feels very Lifetime Network mixed with a daytime soap mixed with a play. Mm-hmm. And I don't like it.
At least Ava makes a choice. No, wait. It's Benji that beats the crap out of Dallas.
I was so mad about that. Oh my God. I was like, if there's one thing we can do. Benji leaves, but when he arrives home, he finds Clarence, the county sheriff, and a whole slew of dying or dead farm animals. This can only be the machinations of the Bertrand family. Benji lets slip that Dallas visited Ava at her house, infuriating the good pastor, and things only get worse when Dallas and Ava's mother, Jean, get into an altercation at the grocery store. Clarence drops the preacher's robes and puts on his dad overalls, sets up a security system, and gives Ava what she really needs.
Agency?
Guns.
Oh. Clarence isn't done, though. He's off to confront Dallas at the Bertrand family homestead. After hearing of this interesting approach to spreading the good word via birdshot, Ava races to save her father from the inevitable beating he's brewing. Indeed, Dallas and his brothers shoot the pastor, stomp the bejeebus out of him, and send him to the hospital.
I feel like I knew this was going to happen. When it did, I was like, damn! Then I was like, well, yeah, we need a final catalyst for Ava to realize she needs to do something about this man. I understand a father wanting to fight for his daughter, but at that point, isn't it better to stay away and do everything in your power to keep her safe and keep this man at a far distance? He risks everything to go out there, and for what? I mean, to kill this awful man and have that on his soul forever, or yet again give Ava no agency, or potentially getting himself killed. The wife let him run off like that. I was so mad. I get being up in arms, but you'd think a pastor would be able to slow down and think things through more than the average Joe.
Maybe. I do understand a father's rage when his or her, or mother's rage, a parent's rage at their child being threatened like this. I was watching a show with my wife, and she couldn't understand why this one character took revenge on someone who killed her cousin. And I turned to her and I said, what would you do if someone killed our son? And she, without a second's hesitation, said, I would murder them in cold blood. And so that's kind of what I get here. I just wish we had known more about Clarence's background. Why did he become a pastor? Because he had anger issues. And he's been dealing with this his entire life. And thus, here's the trigger. He can't control himself anymore. He turns to this. We see that Ava has seen his anger in the past. Maybe that's why she's kind of overlooked it in Dallas, because that's how she experiences masculinity. We could have done so much more with this, but it's just one note.
Ava and Jean arrive in time to call 911 and get Clarence to a hospital. The preacher is in bad shape, and worse yet, the cops can't do anything without proof. Ava has finally had enough. She goads Dallas into returning home, and when the drunken lout arrives, Ava prods her ex-husband further by saying that she and Benji are in love and that they're going to wind up together, and that there's nothing Dallas can do about it.
Dallas begins to beat Ava, and this was the plan all along. With all of the cameras around, Ava now has proof of Dallas's misdeeds. She whips out her shooter, and when Dallas doesn't back down, blows him away. Clarence is finally able to leave the hospital just as Linda arrives with her 2 sons, one of whom has been shot himself. Linda tries to start the whole feud up again, but Ava tells her to let it be over. She's strong enough to handle herself, and her family is finally free. At least until Divorced in the Black 2. 2 Divorced, 2 Black, Step Up 2 Divorced, Tyler Perry and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I'd actually watched that last one. And there really is a second one coming out this year.
Wait, what?
I wish I could take a photo of Liz's face.
I thought you were trying to make a gag. No, okay. No. God. Can we put money to things that actually... Guys.
This is Tyler Perry's prerogative. He has made billions of dollars, and these are the movies that he wants to make. And, by the way, he's got a movie deal with Amazon Studios. He's got his own production studios.
There are so many Black film creators that have incredible ideas, that have incredible voices. And I'm like, why aren't we putting money to that?
I will say once again, that is one of the ultimate defenses of Tyler Perry because he hires mostly non-white crew, almost entirely in many cases. He's given the start to many non-white actors and many non-white crew members, particularly that's really important in Hollywood, if not Hollywood, Atlanta, where it's still very white. And that is a defense. At the same time, that means that he gets to do whatever he wants to do. It's hard to tell the CEO of a very successful company that he needs to change his ways.
You're so right.
We get to our climax here. It's fairly telegraphed. I'm pleased that Ava is finally doing something. She is so timid throughout this film. And while it's true to life that abuse victims are so often brutalized, it's so brutalized that they can't help but continue to churn through the cycle of violence, this is drama. And it's really only when it's almost too late that she does something.
Yeah, I feel like the film tried to do that slow build of her finding who she is and regaining confidence. But while it's an upside, it's also a downside because it was almost too slow, which I understand can happen in real life. But all I have to say is she got very lucky that her father didn't lose his life.
Yeah. Speaking of that slow build, for all the time that it takes to build up to this, it all feels really rushed at the very end in this final climactic sequence. That might be because of how slow it was up front. Maybe taken in isolation, it works. I don't know. I'm probably not going to dive that deep into this film.
Trivia.
Corey Hardrick, who plays the alcoholic Dallas, is in fact a teetotaler. Do you know that word, Liz?
No.
It's okay. So back in the early days of temperance, the temperance movement in the United States, specifically at the beginning of Alcoholics Anonymous, or what would evolve into Alcoholics Anonymous, there were a group of men who were going to be totally abstinent from alcohol, and so much so that they were capital T total abstinent, and that's where the word teetotaler comes from.
Tyler Perry is a very two takes breaks kind of director, and sometimes even faster, in that numerous actors and colleagues have said that he'll only need one take if he feels it's captured his vision. He has also asked that actors improvise if they flub a line in order to keep in character. Many actors have said that they appreciate Perry's belief in them, only giving direction when absolutely necessary. Corey Hardrick was quoted as saying, quote, "When you get on set, he just lets you loose. And when he's quiet, you're doing your job, and he let me go loose, as you can see," unquote.
Even still, despite his fast-paced and actor-trusting approach, Tyler Perry had to reel in Corey Hardrick at a few points. Hardrick's use of language was designed to particularly get under the skin of Megan Good, with whom he had worked with before and shared a good rapport.
The actors, particularly Megan Good, worked out their backstories during pre-production and production to help envision the story world in which they were living. While Megan Good asked that Corey Hardrick really toss her in their climactic fight scene, Hardrick couldn't go through with it. They wound up using a stunt double, the take of which you can see in the film.
I feel that that's a very appropriate take.
Yeah.
While the film uses camera tricks and angles to imply the dominance of Dallas over Benji, or at least make them seem like equals, Hardrick is in fact much smaller than Joseph Lee Anderson. During their fight choreography, Hardrick had to remind Anderson to go a little easy on him. Anderson was very apologetic.
The climactic fight scene was shot very early on in production, with some sources having it as day one, or perhaps the first day of shooting with Hardrick and Good. This is not uncommon, as many actors prefer to find their characters at the climax of a film and work their way up to that point, or down from it in the epilogue.
According to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, Tyler Perry shot 8 episodes of television and 3 films from January to July of 2024. That was on top of the work he was already doing on Divorce in the Black. You can call him many things, but unproductive can never be used as a term for Tyler Perry.
Pros.
Megan Good is aptly named, giving a great performance that could have been very one-note. I also want to commend a lot of the secondary characters and their reactions in scenes. This was a fast shoot with a lot of drama, and it takes a lot to be able to neither overpower a scene from the principals nor to simply play it quiet.
I agree with you, but I really don't like much about this film. I know we're in pros. After 1 hour, or no, actually, after the opening scene, I wanted it to be over. I wanted it to be more grounded in reality. I wanted better writing for our characters, but my bad. I'm getting into cons. I agree that these guys are doing the best of what they've got, and there really isn't too much more to say about that.
The shot composition is, if not amazing, not getting in its own way. I understood the dynamics in every scene without it being too boring. Liz is giving me a face. The editing is pretty decent from a technical perspective, though I think that the production could have been a little more judicious with some of the extraneous scenes and moments. I'm getting a
Big
nod.
head nod. Big head nod.
Big chunks of this audience are going to find something in this that reminds them of their family, strained relationships with in-laws, not to mention a drunken partner, doing all that you can to try and save a marriage. And I understand the dream too, to have money, to escape from the darkness, to find your ultimate partner, and leave the darkness behind. I do understand that. I understand the structure of the film. How it's handled, however.
Agreed. The subject matter is very important. I don't really necessarily agree, though, with how she deals with certain things. There are many questionable choices from our protagonist in the film, and then...
Are there choices that she makes?
Oh, I guess you're right. There are, like, things she's thrust upon, and then, you know...
Benji, most likely.
And then we get the ending we all hoped for, which I, appreciated. I really was like, please, that is all I could say. It was just, this man is really horrible. I want him to get revenge on him.
There is a cathartic release.
Yeah. Thank you.
Cons.
You want to lead us off, Liz? I think you're going to dominate this section.
Girl, it's almost like so much that you were like, okay, what more could I really say that I haven't already said? I mean, the script is, I think, poorly written. The shots, I mean, we were talking about the shots. Do you know that one shot where they're driving in the car and for some reason they pan outside the car and so they're going from the windshield and you could see all the like reflections of the windshield? I'm like, why did we go outside the car? Because we wanted to just like change the shot up, but we were just in the car. We don't need to be out to just show she's driving. We know she's driving. We know. The way that it feels like a play, the way that there are just like there's silly things that happen. The fact that it's so long, it does not need to be 2 hours and 2 minutes long.
That's the thing. It's not that long of a film. It feels long because it just lurches.
What do you mean? It's not that long. Two hours is a long film.
It's not 3.5 hours long.
Okay, it's no Titanic, but you know.
I mean, 2 hours and 2 minutes that's an appropriately lengthed film. The problem is that it just lurches. It just goes from plot point to plot point. There's no flow. It just kind of happens. And that's what makes it feel long. I can't tell you how many times I stopped the film to see how much time was left.
Oh my God, me too. When I saw we were halfway through, I was like, there is no way we are halfway through. I cannot believe. I didn't check how long it was before. That was a silent scream because I didn't want to hurt the ears of our listeners.
This is an audio medium, and yeah.
Oh yeah, so yeah, I have to explain that I did that. But so yeah. Anyway, you do your cons.
The lighting on this film is really, really bright in most of the scenes. I know early on I said it wasn't that bad, and then I started thinking and going through my notes, and it kept saying like the lighting is really bright, and not bad, it's just like bright. But
like at the truck, like you remember when they're doing the confessional scene, and you can literally see the key light on them, and it looks so fake, and they're like in the. What are we doing? It feels like we're in a play. It just doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel right.
I'm not asking for the neon glow of Blade Runner or the oppressive heat of To Sleep with Anger. A little more variety there. A little more subtlety, perhaps, would have gone a long way. Finally, the big one for me. Our main character's agency, or lack thereof. For most of the film, she's kind of shunted about. I know why. She's a good Christian woman who can't go through a divorce. She is also a victim of domestic violence, many of whom cannot break out of the cycle of violence that surrounds them. But everything just has to be foisted on her, and it doesn't come across as dramatic. It comes across as cringe.
Agreed.
Personal opinion.
Personal opinion, where we parry away accusations of prejudice and divorce ourselves from the black and white of objectivity. You see what I did there, Liz?
Actually, yes, for once, Steele. I finally see what you did there. In any case, we're now giving you our honest thoughts on this picture, as if we haven't already. Not for the audience, who obviously love this movie, but for ourselves. Steele, what did you think?
If I go back into this movie and watch it as a telenovela, or maybe in several parts, like a television show, I could come away with some camp value to it. The opening scene really threw me for a loop, and this movie stretches its premise for a good deal longer than it could sustain. There are some great films about divorce, but the darker ones, Waiting to Exhale, A Separation, Marriage Story, tend to require a taut storyline in order to keep the tension going. at such a length, I lost a lot of the stakes and drive for this film. I honestly can't recommend it except as camp. Liz?
Okay, this is tough for me. The film just isn't good. Okay, there is more wrong than right happening here. I don't want to knock the importance of this film. If it can help or did help anyone, including victims and victims' families, then it would have all been worth it. I just don't think we need to spoon-feed audiences with ideas and treat us as if we can't think for ourselves.
Steven Spielberg directed Schindler's List, and he also directed Always. From Liz's blank stare, you haven't heard of Always?
But I have seen Schindler's List.
Yeah, there's a reason. There's a reason for both of that. Like, Schindler's List is amazing, and Always is, not that great.
Okay.
So that for me is this too. I can both appreciate what Tyler Perry does as a creator and as a self-made man, and also critique this film in the extreme.
The verdict.
The critics in the crowd are divided. Divorce in the Black is our first offer. In that, exactly 0 registered professionals give the film a positive rating on Rotten Tomatoes. The film was a smash hit for Amazon Prime Video, however, and 74% of audiences on Rotten Tomatoes like the film. Steele, this was your choice. Who got it right? The crowd, the critics, neither, or both?
I can't reasonably say that this film deserves 0%. It's not an unfinished student film, nor is it Prom Night or Cats or even The Room, which is barely a cohesive story. But I mean, I can't reasonably side against my critics either. It's overly long. It's melodramatic to the point of absurdity. The story chugs along without any real momentum. The characterization is non-existent. I know that Tyler Perry is going for something here for his audience, and it obviously has some defenders, but I feel that this film completely misses the mark. I can't say that it's 0%, so I can't go with the critics, but I can't go much higher. I'm going to say neither, but this is really more like a 25% film for me, 1 star maybe. There's a lot of technical stuff that I agree with in the abstract, and I really liked the acting. I just felt that the craftsmanship of it utterly let the rest of the film down. What about you, Liz?
I fully agree with you. This movie is lacking in so many ways. And I didn't enjoy my time at all. Not because of the subject matter, but because of the script, the lighting, the unnecessary length of the film. It gets half a star from me.
And thus we have endured Divorce in the Black. Would you recommend it, Liz?
No, I wouldn't recommend this film. I would say there are other films that do this topic more justice, so go watch those instead.
Maybe we'll cover them in the future Critics in the Crowd. For now, though, we're at the ends of our rope, but we'll be back next time with a new episode, a new target, and more hot takes, cold takes, lukewarm takes, and ancient slang from yours truly. Any modern vernacular that you could share with me and the crowd?
Modern vernacular.
And there we have it. The Critics in the Crowd is hosted by Liz Ramirez and Steele Philippek. Editing and production handled by Steele. Social media by Wendy Dobkin. Logo by Aria Feliciano. Music by Joel Studler, provided via Humble Bundle. All audio effects are sourced through freesound.org and used under the Creative Commons license. If you feel that we used a piece of audio to which you own the rights, please email helmstarmedia@gmail.com.
This episode was recorded at the Communipol branch of the Jersey City Public Library. Special thanks to Kyle Ramsey and all of the amazing librarians at this location, throughout the United States and throughout the world. To quote Steele Philippek, a library card is a machine that kills fascism.